So to our first category of the health insurance test. So these are the requirements that you have to meet in order to file a health insurance blank. It's not uncommon for insurance carriers to write multiple lines of business, meaning they might write some health insurance, they might write a little bit of life insurance. So when a company writes multiple lines, this test helps determine which annual statement they file. The annual statement is the filing that they submit to the NAIC. That's kind of their report for the year. So for the health insurance test, you'll see there's a couple that are and criteria and then one that's an or. So to start, the first thing you'll look at is whether you're looking at premiums and reserve amounts. So the first guideline is that 95% of their premiums and reserves need to relate to health insurance. So you'll compare the piece that's health insurance relative to their total premiums and reserves. The second item is that the entity is licensed and actively issuing or renewing policies in 5 states or less. So this is renewing or writing policies related to health insurance. And then the third is that at least 75% of the current year written premiums are in the state of domicile, so the state where they're headquartered. So the final box that you'll see is maybe most of their premiums aren't in their state of domicile. This fourth box kind of allows for an exception that if their premiums and reserves are 100% relating to health insurance, that can replace the requirement for state of domicile. So we're going to go ahead and walk through some exercises. I think these are a little bit easier to see in person. So here on the left, you'll see we have a simplified financial information for an insurance company. Note that we are making the assumption that they have met the criteria in the prior year to be filing on the health insurance blank. So we'll see the box on the right that has kind of our items to fill out. So we're going to go ahead and work through this together. So you'll see if we look at their premiums and reserves, their health insurance premium, which is all of those categories except life, which we'll delve into that a little bit later. But for the purposes of this exercise, it's everything besides the life insurance premium. And since this entity doesn't have life insurance premium, they do meet that 100% criteria. If we look at the reserves, you'll see again, they don't hold any life reserves, in which case they meet the 100% criteria. It's been provided that they are licensed in just 5 states, so they check that second box. So if you remember, the third criteria was how much of their premium is written in their state of domicile. So we've listed out the different states that their premium fall into of the 50 million. And you'll see that if we take the 36 million, only 72% of their premium is in the state of domicile. So based on those first 3 criteria, they would not meet the test. But if we remember that fourth box that said how much of their premium is written, or what were their premium and reserve ratios in the prior year, and we are making the assumption that they were 100% and that they only write health insurance, that fourth option gives them a yes, which suggests they should indeed file the health blank. So we're going to go through a second example that potentially we'll see if we have a similar outcome. So a couple of things to note with assumptions that have changed for this example. So you'll see first that they do have life reserves and they do have life premiums. So we automatically know that there is the potential maybe they won't be filing that health blank. Also, you'll note that they did not meet the 95%. So we kind of know that that last fourth box isn't really an option for this organization. So if we'll go ahead and show those percentages that we've already calculated. So the first, like I said, we'll look at the premium and reserve percentages. So you can see that for premium, they are above the 95%. that most of what they're currently writing is health insurance related. The reserve number that you'll note though is that a majority of that liability they're carrying still relates to life insurance. So at this point, we actually can already stop on this one because they failed that first box and there's not an alternative for that one. That's one of the requirements. They would not file a health insurance blank. In this case, from the limited information we have, it looks like their life insurance is the option that they would need to file an annual statement with. One thing you do want to note here is if you're preparing or going through this calculation for your organization, the insurance department for the state where you're domiciled does have the option to override this. So if, in our current example that's up, they may say that, because the bulk of your active business and what you're writing is health insurance, that they want you to file a health insurance annual statement, even though the test comes up suggesting you shouldn't. So make sure you check with your local insurance department to make sure that you're filing the right annual statement.